The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Live tonight from the Richmond Raceway, it is the B&C Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series provided with the United Sim Racing League here on LSRTV. A little bit of a different look here. Up here we've got myself, Austin Coop, alongside Michael Grillia, and then down in the production trailer we've got Corey Silva today. So a little bit different crew, but we're going to have a lot of fun here tonight. Michael, we are at the Richmond Raceway, and they actually updated the logo for us here this time, so that's cool to see that everything's getting a little, everything's completely update here at the Richmond Raceway, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. Second round of our championship racing here this year. We have gone past the first race after our cut for who is going to race for a championship, and Tommy Ryan, a driver who was not in the championship, actually won and spoiled it all for everyone. So we're gonna have a fun one tonight here at Richmond. I have a feeling we're gonna get one of these drivers in the chase winning tonight. We have a lot of strong head runners, but really gonna have a lot of fun here tonight. This short track racing.
Yeah, and the bumpers will be used tonight, especially on this 3/4 mile track. It's almost going to be like the real life race in the Cup Series where they had the Martinsville this weekend. It'd be almost the same kind of close quarters battles here at Richmond tonight. I definitely would not be surprised if we see one of the top 12 drivers in your point standings win the race tonight. But there are drivers outside of the championship chase right now who can be a surprise. You already mentioned Tommy Ryan. Greg Mauls had speed during the year. Dwayne Dunn's been up front every now and then. So there are definitely chances for those surprises to happen and the shocks, but definitely gonna have a strong top 12 here tonight, and they'll be battling it out for the rest of the night.
To look at our points throughout the throughout that first race, Seth the Merchant was the highest finishing driver after all of that, and he is at the top of the points pile-on, and your top 12 are the drivers who will compete for the championship, as we talked about last week. So Seth the Merchant is on top with Justin Michael and Michael Atkins Jr. And then at the bottom we have Jamie Walker, Scott Simley, and Rich Jetty. Now Jamie Walker and Scott Simley being at the bottom, that is so surprising, but realistically these guys are 1, 2, and maybe a few more points away from each other. They're really still pretty close, and tonight and next week are going to be big pushes. But if you're a Seth Merchant, you still can't sleep at the wheel here, because if you have a bad night tonight, you're going to lose all of that ground that you made up last week.
Oh yeah, Seth's going to really have to be on his game tonight to be able to maintain that gap he has. But I mean, as you mentioned before, it's not that big of a gap. If you looked at the point standings from 1st to 12th, it's only 23 points. And that's the fun thing about this point system. Anything can happen. So let's say Justin Michael or Seth the Merchant or Michael Atkins have a bad night, and Jamie Walker or Scott Simley or Rich Jett, as we mentioned, they can easily take advantage of that if something like that were to happen, especially at a track where the trucks will be very physical and be used all the bumpers tonight.
We'll have 200 laps of it as well. And talking about Scott Simley, he is the defending series champion, and finding him in 11th place is definitely something pretty uncommon. He swept all 3 stages last year, or all 4 stages, and got the championship. And we will see if he's able to get himself some redemption, as it has closed up here for the qualifying session, and we will get to see who is on top of the standings at the beginning of this one. It'll be Jamie Walker who starts on pole for tonight's race. He'll start with a 21.434 time, and to his outside is Michael Atkins Jr. We've seen this number a couple of times on the outside row. Michael Atkins Jr. has had a lot of front row row starts here this year. You count them 3, and one of them actually was alongside Jamie Walker. Starting in the 3rd position tonight will be Bobby Terrell, and then 4th starts Tim Matthews. Dwayne Dunn starts 5th. You talked about him just a little bit earlier on. And then you've got Aaron Bennett starting 6th. Scott Simley, talked about him a little bit too, 7th. Last week's winner, Tommy Ryan, he'll start for the 8th position. Then you've got Matt Morrow starting 9th and Seth DeMerchant starting 10th.
The top 10 are only separated by about 2/10 or so, so really tight field here tonight. 11th is going to be John Jenkins in the number 91, Randy Yoakum 12th, Bob Gillenwater 13th, Scott Formosa in the 80 machine 14th, Jeff Ryan 15th, Christian Peterson a slow qualifying time in 16th there in the number 23. Hope to see if he'll get back up to the front and fight for the championship points. John Wilco in 17th, last driver to take a time. Those who did not take a time, Justin Michael in 18th, Randy Tesser in 19th, and Greg Mullen 20th.
Starting in the 21st position will be Rich Jetty, so he's going to have to start from way back, and he's starting last in the championship hunt as well. Ralph Vandervorst, he'll start from the 22nd position. Joe Hudson starts 23rd. Chris Cabot 24th, and Steve Herring, he will start from the 25th position. So that is your 25 truck starting field here tonight. And behind Jamie Walker, these drivers will start 200 laps here at the 3/4 mile track of Richmond. And we talk about the bankings here, and there's a good amount of progressive banking at this track, as we'll see tonight. But like you said, turn 1 is it's one of those corners where you can go very low or you can arc it in, and if you're 2 drivers that have 2 different that's a view on how to take that corner, I think that's where we'll definitely see our first, maybe our first little incident or so is in corner number 1, just because of how wide it is and how much of an arc it is, and apexes are completely different between drivers.
Yeah, especially in the turn 1 compared to 3. In turn 1, you have to send it off a little bit further into the corner. It looks as though you're really overshooting the corner, but as soon as you get to that safer barrier on the outside, you usually just let off around there and try to hold it to the wall for a little bit, then arc it down. As you said, sometimes people will arc it from the top side down to the bottom, or just ride the middle or top. It's easy for that inside car, if he's being pinched hard enough, to overshoot the corner and make a contact with the outside driver and cause an incident. But yeah, it all depends on how the inside car reacts to the outside driver. I mean, the bottom lane will be very, very hot here in the first few laps here, as it'll be the preferred lane because there's little rubber on the track right now. So once that lane gets hot, expect everybody to move up to the middle and top, and maybe even out towards the wall in the middle of the corner.
Jamie Walker here starting on the pole, kind of interesting statistics here is he is by far the most winningest pole winner in this series by double. I know he's got over 30 now in this series. He's got 5 now this season, and he has 8 front row starts. So Jamie Walker at the front, it's not too much of a surprise, but it's always entertaining to see him up there and continue to back up his success in qualifying that he's had over the few years of this league's existence. Pace cars down and away, and we're about to get short track racing here at the Richmond Raceway. Jamie Walker off and away, and we are green flag here. 200 laps of competition, and they are side by side going to turn number 1. Bobby Terrell's going to the very bottom of the track with Michael Atkins Jr. on the bottom, or sorry, on the top, and then that will be cleared. So Michael Atkins Jr. quickly loses 1 position, but it's only lap 1 of 200.
Yeah, Jamie Walker got a great start there as he come around to complete lap 1. Michael Atkins kind of fell asleep at the wheel right there as he let Bobby Terrell go by on the restart there, as Bobby had a great start. All single file out for the most part right now, going back to around Aaron Bennett in the 7th spot, right next to Scott Simley, battling for that 6th spot, and then behind them you got Matt Mara and the 6 of Tommy Ryan, also being pressured by Seth DeMerchant in the 10. So you got a nice little battle right here for that 6th spot.
Yeah, DeMerchant's got himself a little bit of too wide action in front of him, and deciding whether to go to the bottom and go after him, or to try and do something different. Right in front of him is last week's winner Tommy Ryan, and he is going to slowly fall back from 8th place to 10th if DeMerchant has anything to do about it, and he does. Merchant's very quick right now. He's trying to get to the back bumper of Matt Mara as well. This little 4-car group right here is definitely one that we're going to keep our eyes on as Jimmy Walker starts to quickly close away. Look at all the action behind him. A big stack up, actually. That's starting with the number 91 of John Jenkins, and Randy Yoakum's behind him as well with Christian Peterson. He can't have any run-ins with anybody, especially this early in the race, but nonetheless, this is a very big convoluted, or just kind of a little clot we have here in the field so far. But I think a little bit it has to do with the connection issue that Tommy Ryan has on the outside, and just the fact that it's early on the race and these guys don't want to go too hard, but they also don't want to lose too much speed here if this is a long green flag run.
Yeah, it's definitely bottlenecking next to Mara and Ryan. But yeah, if you see someone with an internet connection issue, you will try to stay as far away as possible, because you don't even want to think about getting close to them, because you never know when they're to come back. But yeah, they're really stacking everybody up. They're almost stacked all the way back to about the 16th spot where Justin Michael is. So really close battling right here. Be able to see if they file out here in a little bit as the run progresses. See who's going to be able to get through this pack, as we see up here. Seth the Merchant's looking on the inside of Matt Mara right there, and looks like he will clear that spot right there coming off turn 2, so move him up to P8.
Tommy Ryan tried to do the over-under move on Matt Mara, and Mara right now looks like he's getting ganged up on, at least right now in this run. The 6 got real tight out of the corner, almost got into him actually, but Matt Mara seems to not have it quite under his wheel, but looks like now he's going to get single file, and he might be able to change that as this run keeps going on. We're already on lap number 8, getting close to 5% all of the way through this race already. We talked about how this race is typically these races are 200 miles. This one's 200 laps. So it is going to be only 3/4 of what the normal distance would be for this series. But nonetheless, typically these races do still give us about the same amount of action for the time that we are spending here. So nonetheless, still side by side behind this long line of drivers behind the Merchant. That looks to be the 80 of Scott Formosa getting by John Jenkins, and then you've got Robert Gillenwater, or Bob Gillenwater, as they have now changed his name properly in the sim. I just for over a year and a half I've called him Robert. It's going to be hard to get used to, but he's on the bottom, and now he's getting passed by the 87 of Justin Michael.
Yeah, and this is the Gillenwater, so there's another spot right here to Justin Michael. You said he's there side by side coming out of turn 4. Looks as though Justin's going to run off the corner and will take that spot away from Bob. So it looks as though the outside is the preferred line right now. As I mentioned earlier, it looks as though that bottom is starting to get a little hot. People are starting to move up, try to work the outside lane. The outside really works in 3 and 4 compared to 1 and 2. As it's just got a better flow off the exit of the corner. As you see, Bob's also going to get passed by the number 12 machine of Greg Mull. Greg's also side by side with him going into turn 1. Nothing doing there. He's going to take another peek to the inside. Looks like Bob's just really loose. He's struggling with his rear tires, it looks like, as he loses that spot to the 12 of Greg. So maybe Bob just needs to get to the line, cool those tires down, and get it back going.
Everyone's starting to get single filed out, starting to get kind of their own space and get out and stretch their legs, or get back to the back and figure out how to make their car faster in this long run. Of course, no one wants to lose any positions here, but if you're going to lose anything, it's going to be quickly within those first few laps of a restart. So everyone's starting to mold out, but I'll tell you what, Jamie Walker has got an impressive lead. He's got 1.3 seconds over Bobby Terrell, and then there's a 1 second gap between Terrell and Michael Atkins Jr. So Terrell and Walker have had really good seasons so far. Terrell has not been able to get the W quite yet. He's been very close. He had a 2nd place finish earlier on this season, but has not been able to quite do it. I think this is a good point. This will be a good race for him if he's able to execute here on this long run and not lose as much time as possible, because if this run is long enough, we could possibly have green flag pit stops, which would happen about 60 to 70 laps within this race. We're only looking at a 2-stop race, so when you're thinking about that, you might want to go at 60 or a little bit after 60 laps to come into pit, and then you should be able to get 2 stops in if you come in at like 65 and then split it from there.
Yeah, that's usually the strategy. You do about 66 to 67, somewhere in there, to kind of split it up. You try to do it as evenly as possible, but then again, you can't count on his cautions to come out every now and then. So even if like a short track or a super speedway, you will get a long ride every now and then. But yeah, going back to Bobby Terrell, he's one of those drivers who just kind of lays around, waiting for his opportunity and strikes. that's how he's always been able to produce these great finishes. So sometimes he'll be up front showing off his muscle as he is right now in that second spot, but he's just been really low-key about it. He just kind of waits around and waits for everyone to make their mistakes, and he takes advantage of it. And he's done a really good job of it right now. As he's right now just sitting 5th in the standings right now, so he's easily within striking range of that championship.
Yeah, to remind you of the drivers throughout the field, starting in the first position of who's in. Justin Michael, he is in the 10th position. He would be out of the race for the championship if the race was to end after last week, but thank goodness it's only one race. But then you've got Bobby Terrell. He's also in, so your first 2 drivers are in. Michael Atkins Jr., he is also in as well. And then Dwayne Dunn is the first driver not in the championship hunt, which is really actually pretty awesome to see that these drivers did not make the chase, are one, showing up to race and have some fun, and but also to compete and go for a win. But nonetheless, looks like the 54 is going under him. Tim Matthews, he is one of those drivers who's in the championship hunt. He needs to get every position he can get, so he's going down to the very bottom of the track. And looks like Dwayne Dunn's actually going to let these championship drivers go by, so kind of contradicts what I was saying earlier, but I get why he's doing it. Definitely letting these guys who are fighting for a championship kind of duke it out and let them by. Or maybe he thinks, you know, I don't have the tires to beat them anyway, so I'll try and maybe hold them off and or hold off on the tires for a little bit and try out later.
Yeah, maybe it's just one of those long run strategies. Like we said, it's already lap 21. We may even stretch it to 67 here. So maybe he's just trying to save his tires and wait around for his opportunity in the middle run, maybe even the final run at that. But yeah, it's just really interesting to see how all these playoff contenders are already up in the front. I mentioned it earlier in the pre-race, how they'd be really strong tonight, as they're really showing their muscle right now. As basically the top 6 right now are all in the championship. So yeah, no surprises right now from the top outside the chase, except for Dwayne Dunn, as we mentioned. He's really doing well in 7th spot. He's had a rough season, really. He'd be caught up in a lot of wrecks where it's just kind of not his fault. He just kind of got up into someone else's mess. So nice to see him rebounding right here for that 7th spot right now.
Yeah, with the 57 and the 23 of Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant, they are now going to be close up themselves. I have a feeling a battle either is going to brew between them, or they're going to try and figure out the best way to get around this track together on the track. We see that's often between those 2 drivers to be right next to each other, them being teammates, of course, with 6-Man Inc., the 2 truck team here tonight. And these guys, they're not playing nice. 23 Christian Peterson looked to the inside, and he's going to peek it again, and I think DeMerchant knows that he may not be as quick as Christian Peterson right now, but he's able to keep the position right now. And their paint schemes are very similar, but because they are, they're inverse colors on those paint schemes, those red, yellow, and black trucks. So they've also got Tommy Ryan behind them, so they can't mess around too much. But we have got ourselves our first accident of the evening. It appears to be
the 8 of Randy Yoakum.
And Robert Gillenwater as well, the number 4 truck. He's in the inside wall, and he's got himself a lot of damage, and there's smoke coming out of the back end of that thing, so we'll have to take a look and see exactly what happened. But what happened in front of Gillenwater, and it looks like it perhaps John Jenkins and, like you said, Randy Yoakum.
Yeah, it looks as though Randy just kind of pinched down as we're looking at the replay right now. He just pinched down on the 91 of John Jenkins, and just there wasn't enough room, and John had nowhere to go, so he came up into him and turned the 8. Not by his own doing, but yeah, looks as though he made a great save, but then the 80 of Scott Formosa came around and just nailed him in the rear end, which came down and hit the 4 Bob Gillenwater. So it's a tough break for the 4, and the 80 just getting caught up in another incident. But yeah, that's 3 good trucks right there taken out.
Yeah, Randy Yoakum was the driver who got hit and then was not able to really control after that, as these guys are coming down for pit stops here. I think Randy will be one of the drivers who doesn't actually get that much, you know, it's not going to affect the performance on that truck because he only got hit on the side. He didn't get any engine damage, but it looks like we're seeing some strategy here. I think that's Peterson maybe taking 2 tires. No, he took 4 tires, definitely. But the race off pit road, it might have been the 14, but it looks like it's going to be given back to the number 88 of Jamie Walker here. So Jamie is going to be able to continue to get that. And one of the best things about the pit road here is that all he has to do is get on the gas just a little bit, and he's already across that line. and just enough. I think Terrell beat him in time in pit road on the in the box, but Jamie Walker has that preferred box, and it is oh so sweet here.
Yeah, and he's had that a lot of the season, as you mentioned. He had all these poles, so he's been having those front end pit boxes and having these easy pit exits. But yeah, about pit road is really treacherous at the exit because it kind of narrows up right where the end of it is, so it kind of bottlenecks everyone up, and the speed limit's really, really tight. If you go over like 2 miles an hour, sometimes you will speed. So be watching out for all these speeding penalties tonight, if we're going to have any, or if there's any contact as we exit off pit road.
So with this one, it looks like it'll take Robert Gillenwater. He might be out of the race, and then Randy Yoakum, I think he'll be 1 lap down here after this one. He looks like he's going to continue to take some damage off that machine by coming down pit road. Looks like Jeff Ryan's also going to take a second trip down as well. Looks like no one else is going to do that, but the pace car lights are still on, but I think it's good to note any of these guys towards the back of the field trying to take some extra advantage by getting some extra fuel packed in the trucks to keep them either loose if they feel tight in the trucks, or just to see if they can play some strategy. But the strategy I said earlier about the 2-stop, it was going to be close if these guys were going to do 2 stops, but it's still a 2-stop race. These guys cannot make it on 1 stop from here to the end. They are only going to make it about 70 laps, so you've got to go basically 70-70, so 140 laps here to the end. It's going to be just a little too much to stretch for all these drivers here tonight, so we expect to see at least 2 pit stops between the end of the night, but it's short track racing, so it may be a little bit more than that before this one's all over here.
Yeah, well, with that 170 to go, it probably looking more towards, like you said, that 3-stop maybe. If they can't stretch it that far, maybe some guys are trying to short fuel, anticipating that as the lights are off on the pace cars are rolling through turn 2. So yeah, maybe short fuel be the way to go, because you have to make that 1 extra pit stop. So maybe short pit, get an advantage on those tires, and maybe find some strategy and find yourself up in front.
Their top 5 is Jamie Walker, who started on pole. Bobby Terrell started 3rd. Tim Matthews, who started in 4th. He's in 3rd, so those guys up a couple positions. And then Scott Simley, he's up quite a bit so far tonight. So, and then you've got Michael Atkins Jr. starting in the 5th on this restart. Green flag back in the air, and Jamie Walker will get a good restart, but not as good as the initial start. He's not able to get out as big as this time. But this time, there's not a battle for 2nd, the battle for 3rd on the outside. It's Scott Simley, but he has to check up quite a bit. So it'll be side-by-side for 3rd, on back.
Yeah, the 68 sending it in turn 1, trying to get a good run on the outside, just got tied up off the corner as they're coming through 4 right now. Still side-by-side, and they're side-by-side behind him as well. Aaron Bennett in the 3, the 2 of Michael Atkins Jr., so they're 2 by 2 right here. Listen, though, the 3's just sending in a little bit deeper. Look behind him, Dwayne Dunn is sending it really deep, and then they go 3 wide on the exit back there. Looks as though they're still 3 wide back there. But back up here, the 68 and 54 are still side-by-side, going through 3 and 4.
Yeah, the 39 still 3 wide with still a couple of drivers. Greg Mall being in the middle, and then the 22 of Matt Morrow being on the very bottom of the track. And that 39 has been quite shuffled out, which we saw him in the top 5 earlier on in the race. And so for him, this is definitely not a good predicament. Still 3 wide in, it's not 3 wide anymore, but it's very close at that point. But start looking at the battles up front. Scott Simley is trying to make that outside work, but Tim Matthews is back hard charging on the bottom. Another driver doing that is Aaron Bennett. He got a position on Michael Atkins Jr. So Michael Atkins has not gone up any positions. He's only gone backwards from the start of this race. So it's got to be frustrating for a driver who's done well last week and trying to follow it up with a good finish tonight. Still will be able to do that if he gets a top 10 finish, but getting top 10 finishes is not going to seal these championships up after this first round. They've got to get good finishes. He closes the door on Peterson. Peterson goes down to the bottom. He's going to let him go.
Yeah, and Peterson will take that spot away from Michael Atkins. Looks as though he'll have his teammate or Seth the Merchant also behind him, trying to take away that spot. As you look up just in front of the 3 of Aaron Bennett is on the outside of Tim Matthews as they're going through 3 and 4. But still the outside is just not there yet. Tim's been able to hold on to that bottom as they're still side by side going into 1. So that the bottom's not hot enough yet to where the bottom isn't viable, but the outside's still working just as well as the 3 of Aaron Bennett will close up and take that spot away as the 23 of Christian Peterson will look to the outside of Tim Matthews just the same way Aaron Bennett did. And listen, though, he's going to be almost at his door going through the corner as we come around to complete lap 36. Evened up going into 1. Will 23 be able to send it into turn 1? No, he will not. He's still alongside. Will he get the run out the corner? It looks as though he will. He pinches him down a little bit, and looks as though CP, the 23, will get that spot away from Tim Matthews, move him up to 6th.
Yeah, and watching Peterson go to the outside, looks like we're going to have a caution, so this conversation about these guys is going to have to subside for now, but it looks like it's going to be the 5 of Chris Gabot, possibly by himself or maybe a little help. Yeah, it's actually by himself. He gets on the apron in turn number 2, and actually does a good job of not collecting anybody. We're going to have a replay coming up here in just a moment. Doesn't collect anybody, just by himself, and so he will he'll have to take that truck to the back of the field, so really sluggish kind of spin off of turn number 2, but this will make things interesting here. Yeah, he got really loose and almost saved it.
Yeah, I think he just got behind the steering just a little bit there and had a slide over, correct. But he managed to keep out the wall, keep it off the truck, so everything's fine right there. Just four Goodyear tires on there, get him back out there. But yeah, as you said, so coming down pit road right now are your leaders as I'm leading him down. Jamie Walker to the pit boxes right now.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Jamie's able to back this stop up. He gets a good clean entrance into his box, and looks like everyone else behind him so far has done the same. I expect maybe some strategy here on this one, but I don't see anybody doing it now. Matt Mara is actually going to get off and rolling. One of the first drivers to, actually, and he's going to get some of the positions back, it looks like, and I don't know. Yeah, he lost the position to Aaron Bennett, but Matt Mara started 9th on the grid, and he was way back there, and I think he actually took 4, so I have to take a double check here. Actually only looks like right sides for Matt Mara, so like, yeah, it looks like just right sides. I can't tell. I can't tell if the jack goes up or not, but nonetheless, he's going to be up there. Took 2 tires, and we will see how this makes... this is going to make it quite interesting, because with him taking 2 tires, he's not at the very front of the field. Looks like we got a road cone here in the middle of the turn 2. Looks like Aaron Bennett just hit it there. Hopefully didn't do too much damage on his truck, but what this does is it's going to definitely play a factor, because it wasn't that many laps that we ran under green flag conditions, but I think it was enough to really make the top side hardly existable if he starts up there. Looks like he's going to be starting in the 4th position here on this restart.
Yeah, I think a lot of trucks actually took 2 right there, because the 2 Michael Atkins, either they took 2 up front, or he just had a really slow 4-tire stop, but he fell all the way back to the 11th spot. So he lost multiple spots on pit road. I don't know if that was 4 tires or just everyone else taking 2, or just getting into his box wrong. But yeah, big problems for him right there, as he's going to be shuffled back for this restart. But yeah, the strategy is out, as you said. As you look back up to the front, the 87 of Justin Michael actually stayed out on track, so he will be your new race leader once we get going here on the restart.
Yeah, I think that strategy be equally as interesting. I think that's the first word that comes to mind, but he was in 11th place, so I am curious on how his strategy will go, because he's got no tires on his machine, so he went from 11th to the front, and he'll have at least equal tires. The 22 is the only driver to take 2 tires, and he's going to be starting in the 4th position. I don't find it that these guys are going to have the strategy to really make it to the end. I have to say that Justin's really hoping that something happens behind him, and maybe after 3 or 4 laps, because he started 18th. He was really hauling the mail there for a while, but I gotta believe that this is gonna be a long green flag run. I just don't think this strategy is going to be. I don't know if this one's gonna work here for these guys.
I'm thinking it's just a track position play, because I mean Justin started back in the back half of the field. He started 18th, and he's been running around there ever since the restart. So yeah, maybe it's just track position. Who knows? We only ran a few laps, like you said, so maybe the tires will hold on.
Coming out of turn number 4, pace car on its way down pit road, and Justin Michael gets a great start real early and really far away from everyone behind him. Bobby Terrell on the bottom here with the drivers behind Matt Mara. So far keeping it interesting for these guys on the outside, and looks like Aaron Bennett's going to go down to the bottom of the track. Still a road green cone there on the bottom of the track. That should be cleaned up eventually, but Matt Mara is going to the very top of the track. It looks like these guys are going to go way on the bottom, and they should be able to get around him, but the thing that's going to stink is when they get 2x2 behind him. It looks like the 23 of Peterson, he's going to be getting on the inside of the 3. That's going to be Aaron Bennett. So these guys going side by side for position behind your leaders. All the way, by the way, new leader Jamie Walker, that did not last long for Justin Michael.
Yeah, Jamie took a dive up to the inside of turn 1 to get past Justin Michael. So it's like I said, maybe it's just a track position kind of thing for Justin as he's moved back to the second spot. Maybe didn't want to lead or anything like that. But moving back to the 4th spot battle right now, Christian Peterson does take that spot away from Aaron Bennett for the time being. Will he clear him off the corner? No, he does not. Aaron Bennett comes back on the outside, and he looked just ahead of them as well. The 87 of Justin Michael's getting past by Bobby Terrell to move Bobby up another spot as 87's falling back on all their tires. But Christian Peterson will take that spot away from the 3 of Aaron and Bennett.
The 22 of Matt Marr behind them also is holding out that bottom lane, which is definitely the fastest with new tires, and gotta believe that these guys are going to try and go back to the outside to get by the 22 here. And DeMerchant's getting a little impatient. He's got to find a way to either be patient, go 3 wide, or go to the middle. He can go to the middle right here. That's definitely something he would do, but I think it's too early for him to do that as we are getting to the 1/4 mark in this race. But Matt Marra holding on quite nicely, at least so far. The strategy is working so far for him, but I think if this run goes any more than 5 more laps, it's going to not work in any sort of way. But DeMerchant almost gave him the bumper right there. It's getting close between those guys. Is also looking at Justin Michael. Looks like his tires have warmed up nicely as he's not really losing too much ground now, although he's still not faster than the guys around him.
Yeah, Jamie Walker last time by ran a 22.1 compared to Justin Michael's 22.5. So the difference is noticeable, but when he's back here with the back half, the top 5, it's not as noticeable compared to your leader. As you look back towards the 57, Seth DeMerchant still side by side with the 22 of Matt Marra, and looks like he will take that spot away. So Marra is really not benefiting from his strategy to take 2 tires, as it's kind of leveling out to where he was before. He's also looked behind him. The 6 of Tommy Ryan is on the inside of Scott Simley in the 68. Will the 68 be able to pin the 6 behind the 22? That 68 is going to pull out real quick as the 6 will take the spot away from him.
Seeing the number 87 finally slot into the bottom of the track here. He's going to settle in, it looks like, the 6th position behind Tim Matthews. And Tim Matthews, talk about him, he's been, I think he started a few races late, actually, in this series, a lot like Christian Peterson did. And they both made the chase here for this season. And Matthews has been a very quiet driver this season, has made some really good runs up towards the front, but has not made big finish for him. He did finish 2nd at USA International, but I have a good feeling going to be a little nasty honest with us. It was a very gridiron race for to be kind, but he's had a couple top 5 finishes and a lot of top 10s. He's just always been there, so he's in the top 5 now. Definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do with Aaron Bennett, as Justin Michael behind him will continue to hold off, or try and hold off the drivers behind him. DeMerchant's going to try and get a good run off the corner, off to number 4. He's going to show the nose. You're going to 1. He's going to go side by side with him, but the 87 is not going to show much of an interest of battling him. He's just going to go right back to the bottom and go to work.
Yeah, he had a good run coming off turn 2, but he had no fight in compared to the 57 upset DeMerchant. So he just decided to slot in line. But yeah, going back to Tim Matthews, I've raced with him before in official races on the sim, and he's been really good at these short tracks as one of the points that I've struggled. So I've noticed him always being up front in those races that I've done with him. So I always look for him to be really good on these short tracks. But yeah, going back up towards the front, your leader is still the 88 of Jamie Walker, and the 23 of Christian Peterson is actually closing back up to the 14 of Bobby Terrell right now for that 2nd spot, as their times are really close to one another. So maybe the 23 just took his time. Now he's got his chance, and he's going to try and make a move. He's also got that arcing line going into turn 1. He got a really great run off turn 2 because of it, as he likes to start in the middle of the line and just kind of bring it down to the bottom, as he does right here in 3 and 4 as well. So maybe that's also been an advantage as he's trying to close up on Bobby.
These guys really need to be watching what Peterson's doing, because no one else is doing what he is doing right now. He's the fastest truck on the speedway by a 10th. He's going to the 2nd lane. It's a little more risky, as you saw right there. It's a little bit more risky, but it's definitely rewarding when he gets it right, and he's actually going to go down to the bottom again. I think he saw how close he was to the wall that time and really oversteered it a little to the left, so he would not hit the wall. But he's getting so close to the wall on entrance, is having such a good arc throughout the corner, and he's really going to plow it down into turn number 2. It's a very late apex here. Some of these drivers are double apexing, or maybe just having a long apex to the exit of the corner. And I think that's what Peterson is doing right here. Is he's definitely faster than the 14 in front of him. just needs to find a way to get around him, and he's going to be very close. And we did cross the 50 lap marker here for 1/4, but he is very close. He's going to show the nose to the bottom, and here's a battle for second. Peterson goes down there, and 14's going to try and hold up to the top, but Peterson's got a lot of speed. He's going to be able to clear the 14 easily throughout that corner.
Yeah, I think that was just Bobby showing Christian that he's faster than him right now, so he let him go. Bobby might have to stay behind him, run Christian's line for a little bit and try and pick up what the 23 is doing to get such great speed. And maybe if he figures that out, maybe he can do something with the 88 and the 23 as well. But yeah, also one thing to mention about that line is you really have to be careful when you arc it back down to the bottom. Because as we saw earlier with Chris Cabot, that apron is very treacherous with the progressive banking, as you said. Because if you get down that apron, that right rear dig on the asphalt on the banking, it will immediately turn you around. So it's always got to be important to watch out for that apron if you try that ever changing line.
And for everybody who's been on and watching LSRTV for quite some time, you'll notice that we've got some new graphics at the top of your screen. It's kind of our new updated look, and going to be getting some new music alongside of it as well. So definitely really cool to see the updated ticker. It's definitely a little bit more flashy. It's got everything in a more compact way, and I hope maybe we can get some feedback on how you guys think of it through the comment section throughout this race. And looking at it now for myself, it's definitely kind of has a much sleeker look for this build of the ticker. So 2 years in the making, we finally got it. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there, as the racing for position has really spread out, except for Tommy Ryan and Matt Mara, who are now fighting side by side. And it's quite interesting to see that, because Matt Mara still is in the top 10. I thought he was really going to jump out quickly, but he's held on quite nicely.
Yeah, this is though the tires are actually starting to balance out right here. There comes a point in the run where the newer tires will be still better than the older tires, but the older tires will be more even than the fresher tires, and that's just with general wear. So looks as though the 22 is still holding on to that 9 spot. He's just getting pressure from behind. So the caution on Speedway. Thanks to 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. got spun around on the front stretch. Have to see if that was by himself or not. I think it was.
Yeah, I got to take a couple looks here, and looks like he had got maybe tied or loose off of turn number 4, and then they just whipped the truck around. And so yeah, getting a replay here, and did a nice job of making sure that the truck didn't get any damage, but nonetheless it does bring out the 3rd yellow of the night. And with that, some of these drivers are going to have big smiles on their faces. Matt Mara might have one, and I think Justin Michael will too. He went from 11th to 7th on this round of green flag stops, and if you're not getting 4 tires this time around, I'd say you'd be crazy, because it's definitely a big difference between tires. You saw it there, but 2 tires wasn't bad on that, because we didn't do that many laps. So as these drivers come down pit road, we're going to see exactly what they're going to do. So I have a good feeling that we will. I have a good feeling we'll be seeing everyone get 4 tires after that last stop.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we've gone enough laps to where 2 tires would be not even a viable strategy at this point, especially with the fact that we just got 135 to go this time by. So yeah, 4 would definitely be the way to go. Fuel, you could still, like I said, short fuel to get that advantage, get the car a little bit tighter for you if you're loose off, or just fill it back her up if you want to get that turn off.
In the battle off pit road, Jamie Walker once again will win this one, and it looks like Randy Oken will also get one of his laps back. He was 4 laps down, but there's still a cone out there. These guys are still going by this green cone that has not been cleaned up yet, and wait for one of these drivers to give it a good knock so the iRacing serve. Oh, there it goes. Jeff Ryan got it. I think it's stuck on his front bumper. Actually, yeah, it's stuck under his front grille, so I'm curious if he knows it's there. It's still under his truck. Oh, there it goes. It's now kicked out, and it's going to be in turn 3. So a little bit of an interesting little bit here under caution for the caution. The green cone finally gone. I was wondering when it would be, how long it would take for that green cone to be gone.
That's going to be someone's souvenir up in turn 3 and 4 if the track marshal goes throws it up to the stands. but yeah. I didn't see the cone at all on my screen, so I was just having fun listening to you talk about the cone.
Yeah, it looks like it's still setting there. Maybe it's just on my side. Maybe it's just on my client side. You know how sometimes objects will appear server side and some will appear client side. But it looks like right now it's only me. I'm looking at the pan shot from Corey and I don't see it, so I'm loony or something. So I'll have to watch it later. Watch my crazy self talk about an invisible cone. It seems, but. It appears that we maybe had we did see it out of the pits. We didn't see anyone run over it, but still funny nonetheless. But going back to the racing action, Jamie Walker once again leading, and he's led so many laps in this series, and he's done a good job. He's led 60 laps tonight, 61 this time by, and it's kind of one of those things where Jamie, with the way he qualifies, just kind of puts him in a really good position to continue to finish well in this series, which is why has been a past champion, and why he looks to do it again. He's one of the favorites last season and did not get it done. He actually got knocked out in the first round as he missed a race due to some family stuff. So I don't think he's got that this year, and looks to back that first championship up.
Yeah, and he's looking really strong tonight as well, as he's been dominating the race, as you mentioned before. But one thing I also want to mention is Bobby Tarot did retake second spot from Christian Peterson, so we look to see them battle it out for that spot as we're coming around to get the green flag this time by.
Coming into turns 3 and 4, Jamie Walker will navigate the field and pilot all these drivers into the next green flag segment. And when will he go? He's actually holding it the field quite well, and he goes. Green flag in the air. Christian Peterson's going to be in the inside of the 14 of Bobby Terrell, and Christian's going to have a great run to the bottom here. Yeah, it looks like CP will be able to get the job done, and he'll sneak up to the top right behind, but battle for the 4th position on Merchant to the top, Aaron Bennett to the bottom, and it would go side by side only for just a moment here, as looks like the 57 is going to get a good exit and might be able to clear the 3, and Aaron Bennett needs to... Well, looks like he's actually going to stay on the bottom for the time being, as he's got the number 6 of Tommy Ryan right behind him, and so that would be your top 5. Aaron Bennett closes out the top 5, and then everyone behind him still single file until you get to Matt Mara, who is with Justin Michael. And the funny thing is Justin Michael took 4 tires, but didn't have that great of a pit stop, so all that strategy kind of goes out the window for this one. And then the other driver took strategy, he's to his inside, so with these guys side by side, it will leave the window open for maybe the 54 of Tim Matthews to get ahead, but side by side still out of the corner, and the 87 will clear him.
Yeah, and the 22 actually should put her back in the corner again one more time, trying to make it that 87. Most of the 87 will keep that spot as well as the outside, and the 87s will look for more on the outside of the 54. Tim Matthews looking into turn 1. The outside thing's starting to come up again, as we've seen the more green flag runs. We've had the bottoms getting that more rubber in, the defined line of rubber starting to come in as the 87s pull alongside, even up with the 54 of Tim Matthews. The runs off the corners that we've been seeing are getting bigger and bigger as the night goes on. So maybe that's a byproduct of the inside lane getting hot and the rubber being put down as well.
Yeah, looking throughout this field and looking through the lap times, Justin Michael's fastest lap was actually on lap 72, which is only 2 laps ago, and he's still being held up by Tim Matthews. So some of the drivers running their fastest laps here late, or just as this run. Tommy Ryan as well ran his fastest lap. And then looking throughout these guys, looks like Seth the Merchant did the same. So the track appears to be getting faster for some drivers and slower for others, as some drivers, they had their fastest laps in the very first run. Christian Peterson ran his fastest laps in just those last few laps, and Jamie Walker is one of those drivers who ran his fastest lap in the second lap. Seeing the difference now, looks like those guys with faster laps now, obviously they're more comfortable with the track, and Peterson is actually a tiny bit faster maybe than Jamie Walker here as we round lap 76 over the over the 3/8 mark here in the race, and the race actually kind of flying by, not even getting close to halfway yet, and we're just over a half hour into the race. So single file out through the first 6, 7, 8, 9 positions, and then for top 10 position, Scott Simley is battling the 91 of John Jenkins.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to trying to use that outside lane as everyone's starting to use now. That's just to look the outside of the 91 of John Jenkins going to the turn. Will he drive it in? A lot of drivers have to drive it in deeper than others, try to get that apex speed and go to the middle and diamond it back down, as the 68 just did right there. Blue Slow, he got choked up off the corner, but still has it off momentum to clear the 91 going into 3. As the 91's going to send it back on the bottom once again. But I think the 68 will get enough of a run off the corner to clear the 91. Is close. 91 still actually got enough run off turn 4 to stay on the inside of the 68. That's another thing. Even though the outside lane is more powerful at some points in the run, the bottom can still hang because it's the shortest way around the track, and he could usually send it off the corner more than the outside lane can. So being with that bottom is not always a disadvantage compared to the outside, but it's a little bit weaker than the outside will be.
Yeah, I'd have to say this has probably been the calmest we've seen this race so far tonight. I mean, everyone's pretty single file, and there aren't any battles until you get to the, well, it looks like Jeff Ryan and the 99 are actually, oh, the 99, actually, oh, 98 of Steve Herring. He goes in the inside wall. Caution will fly for this. I just had noticed that Steve Herring had started battling side by side, and then all of a sudden he had lost the control of his truck and went straight to the inside wall.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the replay real quick for the incident. Yeah, and like you said, those stuff, he just came up off the corner and just got too hard on the gas and just spun it off the corner. That's one thing about turn 2 as well that we haven't talked about yet. The banking off the corner coming onto the flat straightaway of a backstretch is really catches drivers off guard, as it's really light. The rear likes to step out there, and he just didn't have a good time of it trying to catch the truck, and he nosed it in the inside walls, though that engine will have a lot of smoke coming from it. So tough night for Steve Herring, as he's got a lot of damage on that 98 machine.
As we head under caution here for, it looks like the 4th time tonight, the drivers will come down for pit service once again. See which driver is going to be able to take the advantage here. Of course, Jamie Walker having that good pit box. We talked about that. And which one of these drivers are going to take strategy? Is anyone going to take 2 tires this time? It looks like maybe the 87 will take 2 tires. Matt Morrow is going to do the same thing. These guys constantly on strategy. They'll be up front as they win the battle off pit road. So we'll see how everyone lines up here. After the caution, we'll be back on LSRTV to have this race start. We'll see you on the other side here on LSRTV. Welcome back to the Richmond Raceway as We're going to be going green for our 4th restart of the night. Justin Michael and Matt Mara both doing strategy once again. We'll start on the front row. We'll see how it bids them this time around as we're going to be going green on lap number 86. Green flag in the air. Justin Michael gets a great jump, and not only did he get a good jump, but so did his teammate Jamie Walker, and he's going to be down to the very bottom of the track for fresh tires, and he's going to be off and away 3 wide for the 3rd position. The number 22 stuck on the outside to dry, and it's going to get contact between the 22, 23, and the 14. They hit just for a tad bit, and the 22 is, oh man, he's going to go from 3rd, and he's going to fall back even further. Strategy did not work out for him, and that happened because their teammates were coordinated here in the start.
Yeah, the 23 got impatient going to the 1 and just kind of stuck it 3 wide in the middle. He had the run, and he just kind of put the 22 off, and he moved him back down to the 7th spot, and now he's battling with the 54 of Tim Matthews. So yeah, as you said, the strategy once again out the window for the 22 Matt Mara. He's also getting pressured from the 69 of Randy Tesser, coming off turn 4 right now. So yeah, looks as though Justin Michael's the big beneficiary out of this, as he's getting pressured from Jamie Walker, but it looks as though he's still holding on to the lead for right now, and those 2 tires are holding on.
Those guys will work together as much as they can without losing time to each other, as the battle for 3rd is raging on. But we'll keep watching the battle for the lead, and looks like the 88 Jamie Walker will go down to the bottom. And if these guys are teammates by the book, they will let each other kind of figure it out quickly. But I don't know if the 87 is going to let go that easily, although he doesn't want to lose that much time either. But by going side by side, they're both going to lose time and wear on the tires. So 87 still holding strong on the outside. It shows you that the 2 tires is not a bad idea. It just will not last forever, as he had a bad pit stop the last time, so he thought, why not do it again? So he's now still in the 2nd position. It's not quite cleared of the 88, but it will definitely happen this time by. And Walker once again goes back to the lead, and the lead change here. So Michael, Walker, Terrell, Peterson, and Aaron Bennett, that is your top 5. And like the 87 is still trying to the very outside. And I'm watching the 88 of Jamie Walker start to use the apron a little bit, starting to use just below that yellow line. Michael, I know sometimes it can be it can really benefit you, but do you think it's going to benefit these guys here tonight?
With the way the banking is on the corners, not as much, but I mean, there are certain tracks like Darlington and such like that where you have a lot of runoff, and the runoff is cool because you're not running on it at all. So maybe if you throw it down in there and have a little bit of apron on there, it's cool if the left side tires get a lot of grip down there as well, because it's cool compared to that bottom lane. So maybe that'll help them there, but I don't really see it helping them that much, considering the banking is so progressive. And like I said earlier, it's so easy to spin on that apron, so a lot of drivers would be scared to even do that.
Oh, and the 87 got really loose out of the corner, and this is going to be a big opening for the 14 of Bobby Terrell as he slings it down to the inside. The 14 is going to have himself a good run, but it's not going to be enough. And then on the outside, the 23 of Christian Peterson, he's going to try and look to fill that gap. And the 14 is going to run him high just a little bit. It's what you've got to do if you're going to try and hold that position. I don't think he's going to be able to have it. So he looked to get the position on the 87 and just not there. And so he's going to have to really push that bottom if he's going to not want to lose, not lose a spot, but 2, gain a spot. And he's kind of in that weird position where being on the bottom is either going to gain him or lose one. It's not going to do the middle. He's not going to stay where he's at right now because the outside is currently occupied by 2 guys.
Yeah, the 23, Chris Peterson, is alongside him. Listen, though, he's just got the run right now. Bobby's just kind of stuck in the bottom. But also, in the retrospect, the 87's on those 2 tires, as we mentioned earlier. So maybe he might be slowing up Christian Peterson on the outside. So maybe it does give a slight advantage to Bobby, depending on where the 87 goes. As the 23 really senses that the corner gets really loose on entry. He just overshot turn 1 just a little bit, and that gave the 14 to Bobby Terrell a little bit of breathing room on that bottom. But the 23 is back on the outside of the 14. That's another thing. If you overshoot that corner and you let up those rear tires, you're going to be really loose for the next few laps or so. So that's one thing to watch out for as these cars go into turn 1 really aggressively. As the 23 is going to send it again on the outside. This time it's going to be a lot further alongside the 14 coming off turn 2, almost scraping the wall right there. But still, the 23's got more advantage on the outside lane.
Oh boy, has this given Jamie Walker a huge lead. And I tell you what, if Justin Michael and I'm sure they're talking to each other, and I'm sure he's telling them, hey, you know, I'm holding these guys up, not intentionally, you know, he's trying to fight for himself as well, but hey, these guys are not able to get around me. Just don't push it too much, because they'll have to push really hard to get back up to you. So Christian Peterson on the bottom of the 14 or the 87 right now. He's got to do the same thing that the 14 tried to do earlier. This outside is so strong now as we're getting close to the halfway point of tonight's race, and so 2 by 2 they go for the second and fourth position. It's your top 5 without Jamie Walker in the picture here with these guys, and the outside is so strong, Michael. It's hard to really contest. You can see how aggressively the 14 went back up to the top. He knew that he needed to get right in front of that would be Seth the Merchant, and this battle is not over for second, but behind them it looks like they have straightened themselves out. And Christian Peterson is able to get that position now as he powers down. Oh, the 87 gets in the wall. He's in it not just once, but twice, and he's got stuck up there, and that's a lot of damage for the 87 to Justin Michael. He's going to fall out of the top 5 just like that.
Yeah, it really dropped him down a lot of spots as well, but this is one of those tracks where damage isn't as effective, but the straight line speed will hurt you at the very end of the straightaway. So Justin Michael looks as though he's still riding along in 7 spots, so not too bad, but it's going to drop him down those spots. So track advantage lost, and the strategy once again for the 87 out the window, just like the 22 of Matt Moore had as well. So it looks as though he might have to bounce back and try to get up to 54 in that bunch up there for second on back. But it looks as though the top 2 have gapped themselves from the 3rd spot of Aaron Bennett. Aaron Bennett's kind of crept his way up to the 3rd. We haven't really talked about him much, but he just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's kind of what he does. He's either on the pole looking to win a race and then loses at the end, or he sneaks his way up to the front and makes it close for him. But there's a good bunch of drivers battling here just inside and outside the top 10. Looks like the number 2, Michael Atkins Jr. is trying to get some of these positions back. He started tonight's race in 2nd place and has fallen back to 11th. He's going to try and go 3 wide just for a moment. He's going to try and get around the 93 of Rich Jetty, and Jetty's also got to make sure he gets himself a good finish, because he's at the very bottom of the championship list right now in terms of points. And so if he can get at least the top 10, it'll put him back into the to the seat right here. But I'll tell you what, number 2's also got to do himself a good favor. As he got a car through the grass, it looks like. I don't know who that was, but I think that might have been Randy Yoakum. I'm not sure, but some driver was going through the grass. Yeah, it was Randy. He got loose off of turn number 4, and he's got himself a pretty darn beat up truck. So night's not going well for him. He's 3 laps down. So really, he's trying to make this better. But yeah, still battling with these 2 drivers, 4 drivers, 5 drivers actually, as the number 2, Michael Atkins Jr. tries to get around Rich Jetty. And Jetty, we talked about earlier on in the season, just being a very, he's the most quiet driver, and except for the fact that he did go up and over and still finish in the top 5 in one of these races. But overall, he's just put solid finishes, and just has not made any big breakaway finishes tonight. And so he is going to try and change that here tonight. But right now he falls out of the top 10.
Yeah, and that he does fall back also in the spot to Tommy Bryan, who will also take that spot away from him. But one thing I wanted to notice is that the 2 of Michael Atkins Jr., we saw him qualify up front, and he did a really good job doing that. But now he's just kind of been stuck back there ever since he spun earlier in the race. He's just stuck around that 10th, 11th, 12th spot, right around there. So maybe he's just having a hard time getting back up to the field. He'll do battle with these guys in the back half the top 10, but maybe he can get his way back up to the front. As we look back up to the front, the 57 of Seth the Merchant sent it into turn 1, and he doored the 3 of Aaron Bennett just a little bit, as the 57 was able to hold on to it, and he slid into the 3. But the 57 will lose a spot to the 54 as they're battling right now, going through turn 4. So the 54, Tim Matthews, will take that spot away from the 57. So basically, Seth just kind of burn his tires up there going into 1, lost 2 spots in the process, trying to make a pass on the 3 of Aaron Bennett.
That's pretty uncharacteristic of him to drive so aggressively like that, but I don't think Aaron Bennett was terribly happy with him, and I don't know what they were speaking about on the radio, but nonetheless, Aaron Bennett's going to be able to get away, and I don't think I see any damage on them, but so I think we'll be good for these guys, but nonetheless, these guys are now starting to feel the short track tempers, or at least a little bit. You know, this series in particular is definitely not one that would for this league in general is definitely not a bunch of drivers that gets aggressive or upset very easily with each other. They're typically pretty clean, but as soon as I say that, we have ourselves our 5th caution on the night.
It's Matt Mara up in turn 3.
Yeah, and I don't think he's the only one involved in this one, so we'll have to take a close look and see what exactly happened. And oh, I think someone else might got into, oh, that was the 10 that had already been involved, and so it looks like Randy Tessar definitely got into him. But oh my gosh, if I didn't know any better, that might have been a clean out from him, but we'll take a couple of looks and see exactly what happened.
Yeah, as we pull up the replay right now, this is he just kind of overshot the corner. I don't, like you said, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but he just really sent it in the corner and just nailed the 22. And as you mentioned, the 10 car came along and he accidentally hit the 22 as they kind of got together trying to get around. But yeah, just the weird thing right there on to see maybe further laps back at the 22, and Zeus and I got into it, inciting that incident. But
I looked back and I didn't see anything between those two. He just. I mean, it literally looks like he tried to wreck him, but I don't think so. And looks like we got Aaron Bennett's really upset on pit road. He's right behind the number 10 of Jeff Ryan, and was not happy with the speed he's going, and gave him a nudge. So league admin is telling you to get out of the way. So yeah, definitely gave him a good bump right there. But all these drivers getting into their pit boxes. I think the top 3 is pretty secure. If they get 4 tires, they've got plenty of space because of that issue between the 3 and the 10 right there on pit road. So I don't think we'll see any strategy here. I think everyone's going to take 4 tires, but looks like it'll be the 88 off pit road first, then Christian Peterson, Bobby Terrell, and that's pretty much how they came onto pit road, except for Aaron Bennett. So it looks like where is Aaron Bennett? He is still in his pit box actually, so I'm unsure what's going on with him, but he's going to go from 4th to the tail end of this one. So we'll take another quick moment and go step aside here for a moment, do a little business, and we'll be right back here on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Be back in a second.
The car behind me is my Chili Bowl midget, the one that I won the Chili Bowl with. And what's interesting about that is it's actually the car that iRacing scanned that's going to be available to all the iRacing members out there.
I grew up in Northern California. My parents were just really big racers.
Welcome back to the Richmond Raceway as LSRTV's continuing coverage of the VNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series continues here with round number 2 of the chase, round number 22 of the season. We'll go through your midway race break here after the green flag here in just a moment, but Jamie Walker will lead this race to the next restart. It'll be, I think, the 6th restart of tonight's race. Got a few cautions here and there, but nonetheless, it's been great racing here tonight. When will Jamie Walker go? He's not going yet. He's waiting for just a little bit longer, and he's going to get it. Green flag in the air. Bobby Terrell in tow right behind him. He's going to get the nose in on Christian Peterson, and we'll see what happens between these two guys behind him and what Christian Peterson's going to be able to do with Jamie Walker here as they come out of turn number 2.
And Bobby Terrell's over the back bumper of the 23, Chris Peterson, but he'll file back in for that third spot, and then he'll also get pressured by the 57. That'll upset the Richard from behind as well. So the teammates, he's in a six-man sandwich right now as he's trying to hold on to that third spot and keep it away from Seth. But yeah, also right behind them, we got the 68 of Scott Simley and the 91 of John Jenkins battling for that 6th spot. As Scott Simley does have that spot, and he will maintain that spot going through 3 and 4. As the 91's going to send it once again back on the bottom, try and get that runoff on the bottom. Most of the 68 is still going to hold on, and he almost might clear him before turn 1. The 91's going to send it back into the bottom one more time. But no, 68's got the spot right now.
Yeah, the bottom is good for some drivers when they get that new rubber on it, but you've got to really abuse your tires in order for it to work. And I think John Jenkins just does not want to do that because of the long run speed he might have. But the bottom didn't look too bad right there. The 68 had a slight hiccup right there on the outside lane, and John might have something for it right here in turn number 1, but still side by side for this position. And you know, Scott Simley has got to get every position he can get, so he does not fall out of the championship hunt early. And John Jenkins wants to have a good finish, just to have a good finish in this series. John Jenkins had some good finishes lately, but right now I think he wants to get himself another top 5 on the season. Same with Greg Mall. Greg had that one spectacular race at Charlotte, longest race of the year, and completely dominated a caution-free race for 300 miles. And right now he's going to try and do the same. Get around the 91, but the 91 hits up the outside lane, and Greg's gonna have to try the bottom.
Yeah, and he actually got a great run through 4 right there as he was really hooking that yellow line. Looks like he's going to send it off into 1 as well and maybe even get the spot on the 91. So the 91 of John Jenkins is kind of struggling outside as he's still just alongside the quarter panel of the 12 going off into 3. But the 91 will lose that spot, and he's also under fire from the 6 of Tommy Ryan as well. So maybe the 91 is just struggling just a little bit. Just doesn't like that outside lane. Needs to get back to the bottom, get back in a rhythm. As the 6 are going to send it off into turn 1A, will get that spot away from the 91. The 91 is going to fire in that bottom just ahead of Michael Atkins Jr., who's all over the back bumper, going off into 3. So move the 91 back a few spots as he's just trying to get back in rhythm. Maybe it's just a tire issue, just got him too hot, or just didn't prefer the line.
Rich Jetty's starting to file back, and it looks like Aaron Bennett has cycled himself all the way back to 12th position. He and teammate Justin Michael, they find themselves 11th and 12th, which those two drivers could afford a bad race, I guess, but at the same time, not something that they want to happen, because next week is Watkins Glen, and any mistake will lead you to be far off the leader. So at the end of the day, at the end of this race, there'll be one driver walking home with a big amount of points. Justin Michael almost lost the handling on that machine, and he got 4 tires, I'm pretty sure. So just curious about how the speedway is changing under these conditions. Definitely this place is getting hotter, it's getting slicker, more rubber is being put down, which is, you know, of course, an obvious, but man, this is really getting hard for some of these drivers. As battle for the lead will look to be shaping up here in just a moment. This will be the first battle we've had for the lead on the lead lap in this entire race, if Christian Peterson is able to get up to Jamie Walker, as looks like he is starting to close in just a little bit on him. He's a little bit closer that last time around, but they're running quite identical laps now.
And it's just a battle of who's at the momentum as they go past the 98. Oh, Steve Herring on the outside, he gets out of the way just fine. But yeah, Christian's been able to hold on. We haven't really seen anyone have anything for the 88. We saw the 88 battling with the 87, his teammate earlier, of Justin Michael, but Justin didn't have any tires compared to the 88, so the 88 just took that spot away from the 87. So yeah, this is really the first true battle for the 88 of J.B. Walker, as he's really getting under pressure from Christian Peterson as he's closing in lap by lap.
Here comes lap 129 this time by, and yeah, these two are the ones that these are the two drivers I think you expect to see at the end of the race start to battle out, but they may do battle a little bit beforehand. And I'd have to say that Peterson has done a lot more work than Jamie to get to the front, but Jamie also has never had to really prove himself yet this race, that he's got the speed. Right now, he's just barely faster, and by barely mean like just a couple thousandths of a second, maybe 10 100ths of a second faster every lap, and It will show in the long run, but any small mistake by Jamie is going to be much worse than those little small gains he gets. And if anyone is more consistent than the two, it's actually probably going to be Christian, at least at this point in the race. But at this point, we will take a look at our midway race break. It's quite a bit after mid-race, but I forgot about it, so we'll do it now, and we'll take care of business here while we continue to also watch this battle for the lead. So as we cross this point in the race, we'll take a look at the midway race break presented by iRacing. iRacing has been developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, GRC, Global Rallycross, Red Bull, and many, many more. As we see the front two drivers battling still. Christian Peterson second, Jamie Walker first. And the battle between them actually is getting closer, so we'll continue to monitor as we go throughout the running order. Bobby Terrell's in third. Seth the Merchant finds himself fourth. Those two battling with Tim Matthews. Scott Simley follows in sixth. Greg Mall seventh, and he's coming up quite nicely. Tommy Ryan, he's in the 8th position. That's where he started. John Jenkins in the 9th position. And then you've got Michael Atkins Jr. He finds himself 10th.
In the 11th spot, the 87 goes to Michael, who's put a lot of strategy tonight, but it hasn't worked out. Fell back to 11th. The 12th is going to be Aaron Bennett, the 3. 39, Dwayne Dunn's going to be 13th. Rich Jetty struggling tonight and trying to hold to that point spots in 14th. Scott Formosa, 15th.
I'm going to have to cut you off here just a second here as the battle for the lead is on. The 23 goes down to the very bottom of the track. Try and get the position, and a huge slide for the 23. Absolutely drifted turn number 2 to stay off the 88 of Jamie Walker. That is going to absolutely heat up those tires, and what a move it was to the bottom of the track, but it did not stick. Sorry to cut you off, but that was, I saw it coming. I just did not know if it was going to stick or not, and it did not.
Yeah, 23 really sent it in there. He had a big slide under the 88. He was able to hold on to it though, but the tires are really hot, so maybe he's regather it up and get back and fight the 88. But going back to your lineup, you got the 69 Randy Tester in 17th, the 22 of Matt Marr 18th, Ralph Vandervorst in 19th, Randy Yoakum 20th, Jeff Ryan 21st, Steve Herring 22nd, Bob Gillenwater 23rd, and Chris Cabot running extra field in 24th.
So that's been a look at your iRacing mid-race race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And thanks to our friends at Red Bull Rallycross, Global Rallycross it is, you can now visit iRacing.com/membership. You can use the promo code PR-GRC for an opportunity to start your career on iRacing. It's 3 months for only $5. Again, that's promo code PR-GRC, and that's for new members only joining the sim. So if you've never been on iRacing and you want to see how it is, just get on the sim for $5, and I think you'll be able to be surprised by the free content and then all the other stuff that is available to offer here on the sim as well, including Richmond and these trucks, which these guys are currently doing some intense battle for this lead. It's been close for these guys, but they have to get a big. I think if you're going to get that lead here tonight, Michael, you've got to get a huge amount of. You got to get a huge run, and I don't have a lot of experience of passing a guy for the lead and a win, but I think you do, or at least you've been on a team that has, and I think you kind of know what it takes to really get around Jamie in this point in the race.
It's just a lot of patience at this point, as the 23 is going to get a great run to come out turn 4. Will he make a move looking on the inside of turn 1? Yeah, he will. He's going to poke it down the inside of the 88, and 23 was going to look to that inside, and they're side-by-side off turn 2. Really tight. Got pinched off the corner, and he got a little loose, so he got to lose that spot back to the 88. But yeah, as you were saying, it's just a lot of patience at this point. You see the 23's really pushing that 88, trying to make him make a mistake, and he's getting really close to him. 23 has the pace to keep up with him. Just depends on how he's going to move. He's going to send it back to the inside of the 88 going into the 1.
Yeah, this definitely makes me think that, oh wow, this is getting really close. Peterson knows his limits, but even that was really close. But Peterson, I think, is now feeling comfortable with the bottom of the track and how it's going to suit him to try and get this pass done. But nonetheless, that outside is just too difficult to pass. But hey, there's a caution out on the raceway.
There's a huge wreck off turn 2. There's the 22 and the 80, also the 66 as well.
The caution flies off turn number 4 once again. or sorry, turn number 2. Once again, we'll see if Scott Formosa gets his position back from the leader. Might be important for later, but yeah, looks like Formosa will have to stay behind the 88 this time, and so he might lose his lap. But yeah, we'll get a replay of what happened, and looks like just a couple of cars got tangled up here in turn number 1. Yeah, looks like the number 80 of Formosa got into the left rear of number 22 Matt Mara, which was already caved in to begin with, and it just started an accordion effect.
Yeah, Matt Mara's and Scott Formosa's night just went from bad to worse right there. Just wrong spot, wrong time. The 80s had a really good run to come to the corner, and the 22 was up in the higher lane, and 80 wasn't expecting the 22 to check up on exit. He got hit from behind by the 66 of Ralph Vandervoort, trying to avoid. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts right there. It kind of came together and into this accident as we're coming down the pit road. As the 88 Jim Walker's going to lead him down.
As the saying goes, the show goes on, and so for a lot of these guys, they're in the wreck, and they've got to figure out what's best for them right now. As it looks like maybe the 23, I think he might have went through his box a little bit.
I think he did it. I think I saw him back up just a little bit right there.
That might hurt him here. It wasn't a whole bunch, but even going just backwards to get back in your spot is going to hurt him quite a bit. So we'll see any strategies. Probably not here, as we're going to have a little bit more than 50 laps to go, and it appears to be the number 88 of Jamie Walker and the 80 or the 14 of Bobby Terrell. First and second, I got the hiccup. Sorry about that. And so then it looks like Bobby will start second here on this restart, with Christian Peterson starting third.
Yeah, one thing I also want to point out is we're in the range where this could be the last pit stop of the race. We're within 60 to go right here, coming to get 55 to go this time by. So these guys will likely be done pitting unless we have another caution for the rest of the race. So see how these guys try to manage their tires for the rest of this race. As we've seen, the 23 was really pressuring the 88, so maybe he might back off a little bit more, trying to save the last half and then attack at the end.
It looks like we get just a little bit more than 50 laps to go here when we get the green flag on this one. It'll be, like you said, another restart here tonight. We've had I think six cautions here tonight. I'm looking at the counter now. 6 cautions here tonight, just above 50 laps to go. I think the likelihood of us getting another one is pretty likely, but honestly, the cautions have been few, considering it is a short track here tonight, Michael. I think just a couple of misjudgments and a couple of self-spins are really the only reasons of us being under caution. And just nothing's been anything malicious or something that's gone. Someone's tried to a little bit anything over their head. Just close racing for most of these accidents.
Yeah, and I was mentioning earlier in the race how everyone's going to use up their bumpers. Well, I can tell you right now, I was wrong. I mean, these are just simple mistakes these guys are making for these cautions, and there really hasn't been that many from what I was expecting. I thought we'd have a lot more side-by-side action, a lot of dooring and all that and such. So, yeah, just a really clean race for the most part.
These guys will come out of turn number 4, and I'm just curious of when they will come down, when the pace car's lights will turn off, which they turn off now. So quite convenient that I started talking about the pace car's lights.
Oh, did the 14 just hit the 88 under caution, coming across the finish line right there? And the 88's got some damage on the right rear fender.
I think you're right. Jamie Walker just got hit under caution. I don't know what that's about, but the 88 has substantial damage on the left rear, and Bobby Terrell has substantial damage on the left front. So yeah, I don't know what I don't know. Bobby Terrell, I think, might have been the driver at fault there, but it was, but I don't know. That's never happened. But the show rolls on, like I just said, and Jamie Walker's gonna have to deal with it here, and he's going to be going green flag in the air for Jamie Walker. 51 laps to go here at Richmond Raceway. So side by side for the second position, Christian Peterson, and inside the newly damaged Bobby Terrell, and Bobby is going to have no answer for Christian Peterson here on this restart. And then the 57 is going to be lurking behind him as well, trying the bottom side. So now we'll have 51 laps to go here this time by, but close racing altogether. But side by side, I think this damage is hurting the 14 a lot right now. He's got that left front damage is bad right now.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of spots. He's already fallen back to 4th spot, and he's under fire from the 54 and the 12 as well. So maybe that damage is hurting his speed at straightaway speed, as he's losing a lot of time on these leaders as you look behind the 14 right now. That 54 is sitting try and battle the 6 to the 12 right now. Greg Ball, maybe Tim Matthews in the 54 will get that spot and then look towards the 14 going off of turn 1 as they're side by side for that 5th spot. The 12 Greg Ball's kind of crept up into this battle for the top 5 or so. We haven't really talked about him. He's been hanging around like the 8th or 9th spot for the most part. So good to see him up here battling for this top 5. And he's really putting the fight to the 54 of Tim Matthews. And the 6 is also going to help as well, trying to give him that little push off into turn 1.
Top 4 positions are now spread out, but like you said, Tim Matthews to the bottom and Greg Ball to the top, and then yeah. Todd Ryan's going to try and slide his way into this one, but he's got really nowhere to go, except for maybe the middle if the occasion arises. But he's had a little bit of internet connection issues tonight, and I'd say that's probably not the best thing for him to do at this point in the race. And Scott Simley, I think right now Scott Simley's in a good position just to kind of end the night. If he can just sit with the top 10, and he'll be good for Watkins Glen next week. But at the same time, you need to get as many positions as possible before this one's over. We've got less than 50 laps to go, and if you're gonna make any break for this championship and back up your championship run, which he did last season, he's the 2-time defending champion. He's going to need to get a few more positions, I think, by the end of the night. He's got 2 drivers in front of him that are not chase drivers that are taking some points away from him. So I think he definitely knows that, and he also knows he's got a couple hungry drivers behind him as well that are definitely looking for some redemption later on in this race. But Simley knows how to get it done when it means a lot. So I have a feeling Simley's just riding around and waiting for that moment.
Yeah, and he also had a brush off the wall of turn 2 there. Really close with the wall, but he looks like he kept it off it. But yeah, Scott's just trying to do what he can right now, trying to salvage the night he's had. He hasn't been really strong. He's been running about mid-pack for most of the race, so maybe he's trying to move up into this top 10 right here. He's up in the 8th spot right now. He's ahead of a few other chase drivers, such as Aaron Bennett, Rich Jetty, and Justin Michael. So he's ahead of a few other drivers that we were expecting to be up towards the front, so maybe that's going to help him out the standings, as he might pass them once this race is over if he maintains those positions. But yeah, going back up to the front, looks as though Jamie Walker still pulled that gap out, and he's now running the Christian Peterson line that we were mentioning earlier. He's trying to run that middle and then cut down to the bottom. Didn't really work out right there as the 23 did close up, so maybe the 23 has a lot of extra pace compared to the 88 as he's really closing up once again.
Yeah, Christian Peterson getting oh so close to the wall just a few times here coming out of turn number 4, but yeah, he gained a 10th that lap, which is one of his biggest gains in this entire race. But we haven't seen anyone be able to pass for that win, and I think if Christian's there with 20 laps to go, he's going to have the patience to figure out where Jamie's going to fall. And I think Jamie's got his point to being faster in the longer run, but Christian does have that overall speed to get him there and then be patient to get it. I think Christian's got the truck to do it, and wow, a huge amount of space gained by, amount of time gained by Christian, just that corner. And yeah, he's already on the back decklet of the number 88 of Jamie Walker, so possibly only a lot sooner than I was expecting, at least, for him to be there. And the best time to do is when you get those fresh tires to get that bottom working out. But looks like Christian's trying a couple maybe different line here this time, and looks like he's going to lose just a little bit of ground, but he's right there.
I'm starting to think that damage on the 88 is actually kind of hindering him just a little bit, just for straight line speed, as the right rear spoiler is pushed up in the air, so it might slow him down at the very end of the straightaway. But in middle, of course, because the 23's look to the bottom right here on the inside of the 88, and he's actually at the door panel of the 88. So 23's trying to take a look on the inside. Christian Peterson sending it off into turn 3 as he's going to almost get completely clear of the 88, but the 88 is going to get the run back up off the corners, and the 88 gets real loose, and we're going to caution on the speedway. Trying to find out where that is. Oh, we got one stop around the 6, and Tommy Ryan's turned around out of turn 4. Have to look at the replay to see what happened there.
Looks like Greg Ball went to the bottom of the track to get underneath him, and sorry, Greg, I don't know if there was enough room for you, so I can give Greg grief because he's a good friend of mine. But I don't think there's enough room for Greg there, and I think he thought that he was clear Good thing for those two drivers is neither of them are in the chase, so they just hurt each other, and Tommy can go bang up on Greg all he wants to after this race is over. But that will bring out a caution, and this is where the strategies really start to play, is who's going to come down this time and get 4 tires. I think everyone's got to. You've got to make those long runs count, and if you don't, I think it's a must here, especially with less than 40 laps to go.
Yeah, the tires will still be a key here, as they're still making impact compared to how these guys raced for the last few laps. So then should see if anyone will take any 2-tire strategy like you said or anything like that. But first off is going to be the 23 is coming through. He might get the lead win off pit road, but no, the 88 will take that spot away. So also though, we'll still have the 88 as your leader coming off pit road.
Jamie Walker will win the race on pit road. He will start and pilot these guys around for possibly the final restart of the night. We'll step aside for the final time here on LSRTV with our continuing coverage of the BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. You won't want to miss the conclusion of tonight's race, and we'll see that in just a little bit.
Took my sister and I to sprint car races pretty much every Friday and Saturday night. So I did outlaw kart racing from 7 till I was 14. And then that's when I got into 360 and 410 wing sprint cars. There's just something about dirt racing that's just, you can't get anywhere else. I enjoy going back to race them whenever I can. I get to run about 20 to 25 dirt races a year and try and put on a show every time I'm there.
Battle for the lead. Kyle Larson to the inside of Shane Stewart. Slide job, no. Larson unable to complete the pass. He'll follow Shane Stewart down the back straightaway. Stewart makes the move to the inside of Craig Kinsler. Kyle Larson goes around the outside out of turn 4. You've got a new race leader. Kyle Larson from ninth leads on lap number 23.
I'm probably just a little more relaxed, I guess, at the dirt track, just because it's for fun. Where the NASCAR stuff, it's points racing and a lot bigger sponsors and stuff you have to please and all that. You're there for 3 days a week, so your approach is a little bit different there. Where sprint cars, you're there for 5 or 6 hours and moving on to the next racetrack. So I've been on iRacing, I think, since 2009 or 10. Yeah, I remember, starting out, as a rookie on there, in the legends and the late models and stuff like that. And that was fun to, have to try and get your licenses up and stuff. But it's amazing to me how, now that I get to race on a lot of the tracks that are on there, how to the T, similar because of the laser scanning and stuff like that. So all the bumps and all the visual aspects.
Welcome back to LSRTV's coverage of the BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series, and Jamie Walker is going to be starting this restart. We've said that a lot tonight. We've also said that Christian Peterson has been right there. But to Seth the Merchant, I believe this will be the first time he starts third on one of these restarts. So pace car's got down and off away. A great restart by the 88 of Jamie Walker. Green flag back in the air. Just over 30 laps to go here in this one, and DeMerchant is going to try and get it away from his teammate. He slid the right front there in turn number 1. He's really trying to make it work against his teammate. They'll slow side by side just for a little bit, and they'll get single file for the second position. And then looks like Tim Matthews is going to try and send it on the inside of the 14 of Bobby Terrell. That does not work, and it looks like anybody in the inside is going to have to fall back and try again.
Yeah, and also looking back a little bit further, Dwayne Dunn's going to take a move on the 91 of John Jenkins for that 8th spot. Looks as though he will have that spot. He's going to get really close. The 87's on his bumper. They got really close to each other. I thought they were going to turn each other almost. But the 81 loses that spot to the 39 of Dwayne Dunn. And also the 87 of Justin Michaels to the peak to the inside as well, coming off turn 4. Will the 87 have a move on coming into turn 1? He actually does. The 91 loses another spot. So once again, 91 moving backwards on these restarts.
And Justin Michael needs to get every position he can get, because he is second in points, but he needs to secure as many security points as he can. And he hits the wall big time, and the outside wall goes to the number 87 of Justin Michael, and he'll now have the 91 to his inside. So not a great race for Justin. Still a top 10 finish if he can keep going, at least at this rate. Almost hits the wall again, actually, as he continues to fight side by side with the 91 John Jenkins. But looking forward again to the front with Jamie Walker and Christian Peterson. Looking at these times, Peterson is once again just a little bit faster here already on this run. But being the leader, you don't get really judge how fast you are against somebody else. Christian can see where the 88 is going and see where maybe he can make some ground up. Jamie's really had none of that this entire race, and he's been the Pied Piper this whole race, setting the pace, setting the tone for how this race goes. So under 3 laps to go, he's still that guy, and even though Christian is catching him, I believe that Jamie Walker still has a good advantage of being that leader, but he is starting to lose a little bit of time, and they actually had almost identical lap times that last time. But Peterson, he's able to roll that bottom so well here at the beginning of these runs, and that's definitely where he's getting him right now.
Yeah, I think where Christian's beating Jamie Walker right now is Christian's trying to hook the paint. Sometimes the paint will have a lot more grip than the asphalt does, just due to the texture of it. So yeah, the paints might have the better grip right now, as the 88 tried to try the same line right there, but it didn't quite work out, as the 23 is oh so close to the 88 as they're coming down into turn 1 this time by. So all I want to notice is now that Seth the Merchant's up at 3rd, I want to be interested to see how his pace is compared to leaders, because we've seen a lot of people have been able to get up to the front, but they really haven't been able to challenge the 88, and the one who's really been able to is the 23. So be interested to see if the 57 will have anything for those top 2 and be able to close the gap down.
And it's like you said earlier on in the race, Christian has not led hardly any laps, if any at all, this whole race, and I think right now what you've got to do if you're him is, like you said, patience. But when does that patience start to just get to you and you make that move to try and secure a win? Because he doesn't have to win tonight's race to make it into the chase. It's not a winning you're in this series. All you have to do is get good point stays to make it to the end of this one, in the end of the round, and survive another day. And Jamie Walker at the same time doesn't have to win either, but it would be great for these guys to do so. Although fighting very hard is going to be quite opposite for both of them if they are to get tangled up. I think the last 2 guys to fight for a win and get tangled up and something are these 2 guys. So keep an eye on them. It looks like it's stabilizing between Jamie and Peterson. Peterson just maybe playing it with his food before he tries to pass him. Right now, that's all I can really say for those 2, but still stabilizing between those 2, and behind him, battle going on for the 6th position, Simley versus Aaron Bennett. Bennett tried the bottom move, it did not work out, and Simley's going to be able to keep that position, although Simley is sliding through the corner. I don't know if that'll work on his tires for very long, but Simley did indeed slide his tires a good bit.
And Simley does take that spot away from the 3. And it's a nice recovery from Scott. We've seen him get mired back in the back half of the top 10 for most of this, or for front half of the race. So it'll be interesting to see if he can make any more moves and move his way up towards Tim Matthews and Bobby Terrell for that 5th and 4th spot. And as we look back up front, 23 is still closing in on the 88. It's tick and tack right now on times as they're going back and forth. The 88 kind of got a little bit wide right there coming off 4, so maybe it leaves the door open for the 23 in the next few laps.
20 laps to go here at Richmond. And yeah, we've been talking about this battle for the last half of this race, and for the second half of this race, I should say, and it's definitely been Walker's race to lose at this point, and every lap it seems like Peterson is just kind of in there and hasn't really had any move yet, but is just so close. And any mistake by one of them is going to be taking a huge advantage of. Although we saw Peterson try and pass Jamie earlier on and it did not work, Peterson might have to do what he does best and save his tires for the last couple of laps to try and get this pass done, to have the most optimal. Where he touches the outside wall just a little bit, that's going to slow him down just a hair. Between those 2, it is definitely just a 2-horse race. No one's even close to them, as they ran identical laps that last time by and are still pulling away from everyone behind them.
And you mentioned they ran identical laps. Christian Peterson, like you said, tapped the wall. So, I mean, that just shows how much pace he has compared to Jamie Walker. And no one's really able to have that type of pace compared to the 88. So, yeah, Christian Peterson's, he's shown the pace. Does he have the time and the tires?
They both, by the way, I sorry to cut you off, but they both ran 2 identical laps, lap after lap. Well, not identical, but they're 1/1000th off. That just shows you how close they are on the time.
And the lines are just so different as well. So you show that the track is different. The line you run is going to be great for you, depending on what you prefer. And then at that time by, they only were about 300ths apart. So they're really consistent and showing a lot of speed right now. And Christian's going to keep closing back up on the 88. But yeah, it just comes to a point where Christian's got to look at the lap, kind of go, I got to make a move. I got to do something here as we're closing down under 15 laps to go here next time by. So, I mean, he's all over the back bumper. It's just a matter of will the 88 make a mistake, or will he, the 23, have to make the move himself?
The 23 continues to hound Jamie, but I think he's got to just get a little bit closer before he makes a move. He loses a little bit of ground, but he gained a whole lot more than he just lost the previous lap. So there's really no other battle to watch. And oh, Peterson smack hard on the outside wall. Big damage is going to be on that right side. That might be it for Peterson if he's not able to recover from that.
Yeah, he took a hard hit to the outside wall, and that right front is crinkled up, so it'll be interesting to see how the aero and the engine are affected by that damage. Sometimes you can script that wall and get away with it as it grows up really close to the wall one more time. But yeah, it's just really uncertain of how much damage he has for the next few laps. So if it hurts him, then he just has to settle for second. But if it doesn't, he's still got that shot to get Jamie, because he's still within reach, as he was actually quicker than Jamie by a few, almost a tenth almost that lap.
Yeah, I think Jamie might have went wide, perhaps to save a little bit, maybe cool those tires down. I don't know. It was weird. It was definitely a line he had never done before until he saw Peterson hit the outside wall. So I am curious of why he did that, or whether it was on purpose or not, whether he made a mistake too. I mean, sometimes when you look in your rearview mirror, he's not there anymore, and you wonder, where is he? Next thing you know, you're doing something you don't normally do. So I find that to be interesting that they both kind of make mistakes, very similar in time. But yeah, I think Peterson's definitely got himself a little bit hard of a job to get this win tonight. If he's got to make up 3/10, which doesn't sound like a whole lot of time, but with them being so close in time, he's got to get there and then pass. He can't pass him in the same lap he's going to get there. It's not possible to do that in the bottom side. Unless he gets on the outside and fakes Jamie out, which you can't really do to Jamie. Well, I won't say you can't, but it's highly unlikely, as we're going to have 10 laps to go this time by. Jamie Walker leads Christian Peterson and the rest of the field by quite a length amount, but it's only 4/10 between these two guys.
Yeah, these two have definitely been the class of the field tonight, as these are the only ones who have really been able to stay with each other and be able to pull away this much of a gap. Jamie's been doing it all night, as he's led up basically the entire race, except for a few odd laps. But yeah, Christian's the only one who's been able to challenge it, as we documented all night. They just ran, once again, 2,000ths apart, showing the consistency these two have. So that damage really hasn't affected them. Or maybe their damage is just enough to where they're equal on speed. So yeah, it's just a matter of time coming to the end of this race. Will we get a battle? Will the 88 make a mistake? Or will Christian just not have enough pace to keep up with the 88 and settle for second?
The gap is decreasing just a little bit, but I think it's going to be a little too late unless he really hauls the mail the next couple laps and gets to the back bumper of Jamie Walker. Oh, huge slide with Christian Peterson. A little too much brake, got that nose too heavy, and slid the back end. I think that right there is going to be one of those showstoppers if he's not careful. Oh, he's just absolutely sending it. I think he knows now, Michael. I think he knows that if he's not sending it in now, it's over, because he is throwing it into the corner harder than he's ever done it and sliding the car more than he's ever done. I think that's one of those desperate moves that he's trying to just get away with.
I think it actually is over unless the 88 does make a mistake, because those tires are really hot on 23, as you keep sending off in the turn 1 that time as well. So I mean, unless he gets those tires cooled down in time, I mean, he's still got time to go this time. But it's a 7/10 gap, and Jamie's been really dominant and really consistent compared to Christian these last few laps. So to see the gap this time by actually closed a 10th, almost a 10th and a half that time. So Christian he's sending it in, and it's kind of working now. So maybe he does have a shot. He gets really close to the wall, and he hits the wall right there. So looks as though that ends that run right there.
I'll never say it's over for Christian, but he's hit the wall hard, and I don't think I've ever seen Christian drive this hard before. I think this is definitely one of those that he's going to be frustrated that he didn't win because he's had such a dominant truck, but he just started from 16th, so just a little too far back in the field to make all that up. He's done a great job tonight of getting away from all the action and just being able to focus. And then he was there, had a couple shots at it, but yeah, he just has been really aggressive these last few laps, and you can definitely tell the desperation is trying to get in. He's actually gaining quite a bit, but whenever you look at the time, I mean, he's actually driving slower, so you got to imagine that Jamie Walker's not pushing the issue until he's a few tenths off of him, which I think is smart, so maybe he can save a little bit, you know, have a little bit left in the tank as we have 2 laps to go. Double popsicle sticks in the air. And Christian Peterson, I think he'll have to settle for second today, but just a couple more laps around this circuit is also start to look up throughout the field. No more battles, really, unless you're looking at Michael Atkins Jr. and Justin Michael, but it's all eyes up front.
Yeah, they're still really on each other right now as the lap car of the 8 of radio goes all the way. As you're coming down to get the white flag this time by. Looks as though that gap is still not close enough for Christian to make a move as they come through 2 right now. Yeah, there's no way Christian's going to send it on into 3, so he will have to settle 4 spot as they're coming through 3 and 4 this time by to come and get the checkered flag. Jamie Walker will be your winner tonight here at Richmond.
Jamie Walker seals the deal, wins from pole position. The fireworks are on the back straightaway. Jamie Walker will win another one this year, and you'll see Christian Peterson roll up beside Jamie Walker and to congratulate him on his win, and rolls on to settle for second place. Jamie Walker has had himself a rough beginning of the season, but now has really rallied. He will be getting his 5th win on the season. He'll tie Seth the Merchant for second on all-time wins this season. And to say that Jamie Walker wouldn't have any wins early on in the season is pretty surprising, but to get a lot of them now is definitely the best time to do it. He got his first win at Dover, and then since then he's had only good finishes, really, and so he'll do the Polish victory lap here at Richmond, which is a very cool tribute for him. And while he does that, we'll go through your full field rundown and see where your favorite drivers finished here tonight at the Richmond Raceway. Jamie Walker finishes first with Christian Peterson rolling into the second position tonight. Seth the Merchant finishes 3rd. We'll talk to those first 3 drivers, your top 3 drivers here tonight. Bobby Terrell finishes 4th. Tim Matthews, he'll finish in the 5th position. Scott Simley 6th. Greg Mall 7th. Aaron Bennett 8th. And then Justin Michael and Michael Atkins Jr. finished 9th and 10th.
John Jenkins is going to start your top 15 in 11th. Tommy Ryan in 12th. Dwayne Dunn 13th. Rich Jetty 14th. John Wilco 15th. Matt Mara, who played out a strategy earlier in the race, did not pan out, finished 16th. Last car lead lap. First car 1 lap down to the 66 Ralph Vandervorst. 2 laps down to Randy Yoakum in the 18th spot. Jeff Ryan 19th, 4 laps down. Randy Chester 18th down in 20th. Then the rest of these guys were out of the race earlier with troubles. Scott Formosa in the 80s, so he 21st. Bob Gillenwater 22nd. Steve Herring 23rd. And Chris Cabot is going to round out your field in 24th.
So that rounds out your 24 truck field tonight here at Richmond. And we'll take a step aside. We'll talk to your top 3 finishers, Jamie Walker, Christian Peterson, and Seth the Merchant. When we return, we're watching coverage of the BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series here on LSRTV.
This broadcast
Very good. So when I first got to like K&N and then the Nationwide Series at the time, I would race iRacing all the time to learn as much as I could about the racetrack before I went to the actual racetrack to race. So to me, it's just for fun now. So I enjoy going on there. Actually, I don't enjoy going on there all the time because I don't win a lot. So it's frustrating to see myself struggle to run top 10 in an Xfinity race or something like that and get beat by Logan Seavey every time I run a sprint car. So the level of competition on iRacing is better than real life. I mean, you've got thousands of drivers on there that, a lot of them are probably better than the people you see on TV. They just haven't had the opportunities to make it, but can kick butt on there, and you can spend all day long running thousands of laps a day, so you can get yourself, really good at it. So competition level is just unbelievable, really, on there.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Welcome back to the Richmond Raceway as we have finished up our 200-lap race here, and we're going to talk to Jamie Walker, who has won tonight's race. We're meeting up with him in Victory Lane, if I can get him up here. And looking at him in Victory Lane, Jamie, you win tonight's race, your 5th win on the season. And Jamie, this is a great win for you. You didn't have the best of weeks last week and had fuel problems, and you finished in 10th overall for the drivers of the championships of the year. You were out before tonight's race. You win. It's really going to push you well into next week. Congratulations on your win, and well done. You and Christian did a heck of a job with battling each other and a heck of a job of spanking the rest of the field.
I tell you what, I need a towel right now and a bath. That boy put me to work. Wow, man, my hat's off to him, man. He ran me clean the whole time. Every time he got beside me, we were door to door, and we never touched once. And my hat's off to him, man. It was a great race.
Yeah, watching you two battle was really fun. You know, when we see two drivers drive as clean and as good as you guys did, it was really fun to watch. And I'll say that no other driver was even close to the zip code that you guys were in. I mean, even Christian's teammate Seth with 3.5 seconds off the pace, and you know, we consider him, Bobby, and Tim Matthews good drivers and drivers who are typically pretty good at short tracks. And there must have been something that you had, and you and Christian had, that was just superior. And then you even had damage under caution at one point. I'm sure you were questioning that a little bit, as we were, but you still had the truck to do it. The damage didn't affect you.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, me and Bobby were messaging each other on the restarts, and he just happened to be messaging me at the time he ran into me, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what was that all about? I was trying to be your friend earlier, now you want to hit me? But no, that's all good.
Well, that's why you don't text and drive, I guess.
That's a good point right there.
There you go. Well, before we let you go, Jamie, congratulations on your win. 5 wins in the season. Unlike last year where you had to take a week off and you weren't able to get the championship that year, you're going to be able to fight one for one at least another week and see if you can make it past this round. But before we let you go, who makes it happen for you on that 88 machine?
Well, of course, all the guys on the Mountain Dew crew, my teammates at Young Guns, they do an awesome job preparing throughout the week and telling me the little ins and outs, because I don't get a chance to run that much, but they give me some little hints, and I go from there. And thanks to you guys up here in the booth, awesome job as well all the time, and it's good to see you again, Austin.
Likewise there, and maybe we'll see you more often. It's all up to you, actually.
I'm going to be pushing for it now.
A chance to see me. Oh, man. We'll talk to you later there, Jamie.
All right, y'all have a good night.
All right, we'll go down to second place finisher Christian Peterson with Michael Grilli on pit road.
Yeah, we have caught up with your second place finisher of Christian Peterson. Christian, you had an up and down night. You kind of started back in the 16th spot, had to work your way up to the front, and what you got there, you kind of stayed up there for the most part. We saw you multiple times run down Jamie and get to his bumper a few times. Do you think you had anything for him on that last run, or did you just kind of get run off on the tires?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I had something for him until I got to the wall there, but we just tried to play, just try to get track position early from starting in the back, and I just really got to get better at qualifying so I don't have to, so I can have more time to race these guys up front, because it takes a while to get through a handful of them, and sometimes you don't even get through them like last week at Las Vegas. So I was just really grateful to be up front racing with Jamie, and yeah, just hats off to him. He did a great job. I was mentally sweating trying to figure out how to freaking get by him. Every other move he was making a counter for, and it was good racing, good clean racing. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, as you were mentioning earlier, you said you had a hard time of qualifying. You had to work your way up through the field. Talk about how hard it was to even make those passes out there. We saw earlier you were battling with about the top 5 or so around there, and you having to fight on that bottom side compared to the guys from the outside lane. Talk about how the lines were really different and working against you on the bottom and working for you on the outside.
Yeah, beginning I was actually rolling around people on the top, but that was more, I think people were focused on getting to the bottom, and I was, you know, it kind of caused a checkup, and I would just kind of roll around them, and that seemed to work out until like we got to the top 10, and then on the restarts you kind of had to get into your line and find your position earlier, or else you were going to get trained by a couple guys. But it was the restarts were chaotic, or not chaotic that much once we got up front, but they were times pretty bad for us. But I guess racing, if you don't have any luck, it's no good. So bad luck's better than none.
That is true, and you did find your way back up to that second spot just ahead of your teammate Seth Merchant for that third spot. Before I let you go here, anyone you want to thank, all your teammates you want to thank out there as well?
Yeah, just everybody on the 23, Peterson Irrigation Chevy, 6-man, Vincier. Got to thank Scott Austin at Austin Designs. He does paint schemes and merch designs. Seth did these paint schemes, so shout out to him. Shout out to my parents downstairs, my girlfriend, they're all watching. So I think my buddy Yanks was spotting me. He wasn't really spotting, but he was just kind of giving us good information and keeping us updated on what other guys in the chase were doing. So shout out to him.
Yeah, we did notice those paint schemes are there for you and your teammate. They do look very fresh on those cars. So yeah, great finish there for that second place. Looking forward and finishing better, and looks to see you fight for this championship.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is your second place finisher, Christian Peterson, tonight at Richmond Speedway. And now I think Austin has caught up with third place finisher, Seth the Merchant.
Catching it with Seth the Merchant here, finished third. Seth, you had a kind of decent race, and then you kind of kept on coming up through the field and eventually found yourself in third. And just there's a big difference between you and the two guys in front of them. Was there anything in particular that separated you two between them, or was there just not enough time in the race to figure out the track?
Oh, those guys, they were just on fire, man. The first 20 laps into the run, they would run in like a 2/10 of a lap faster than me, but I just needed more long runs. After about 30 laps into a run, I'd even out with them, and then there at the end, I was running, I think, just a little bit faster than Jamie, so just needed to stay green for a long time, maybe get some green flag pit stops, but I don't know, those guys were they were in another league of their own tonight.
Going throughout this season, you have had quite a lot of success, and I think this will keep you in first place in the championship run. Of course, you will have those races that you'll be like this and last week, where this will keep you up there, but the points get reset after the 3 weeks. Using these races to keep you bolstered up there is always a good thing, but is there a thing about momentum that you're thinking here on these Saturday nights, or is there anything particular about these races, and especially next week is going to be an anomaly of all of them combined, because it's road course racing in the chase, but do you expect anything to roll over to next week and then into the next round?
Yeah, kind of just going off my finish from last week, I knew I wanted to get a decent finish, so going into next week, if anything does happen, because first time we've run a road course so far in this league, so I'm not sure what to expect, so glad I've built up enough of a comfort zone so that if something does happen, I can still make it into the next round, I think, pretty safely.
So for the second race, you finish in the top 3, and before we let you go, I'll let you have a chance to throw out sponsor shout-outs who makes it happen, and what makes that car fast?
Just Peterson Irrigation for being on the truck, and all the vehicles that I run now, P-Money Designs, the Austin Designs, all the guys have been here racing. Christian helped me a lot in practice tonight. I was even more far off than I was in the race there, so he helped me a lot, and yeah.
All right, we'll let you go here, Seth, and we will we'll conclude some final thoughts, but It really was a 2-horse race there at the end there, Michael.
Yeah, Jamie Walker and Christian Pearson were definitely the class of the field tonight as they battled it out the last half of the race. But overall, it was a good race. I mean, we had a lot of good midfield battles, watched out for the point standings and everything as that played out. Had some good finishers from non-chase contenders such as Greg Maul and I believe also John Jenkins as well. So yeah, a lot of surprises up in that top 10 as well. But yeah, overall, a lot of your chase drivers dominated the top 10. So strong finishes for them are pushing them forward as we move into a very treacherous Watkins Glen, as the chase is going to have a cutoff after this race.
So as we conclude tonight's race, Seth the Merchant will more than likely still be on the top of the points grid, so expect him to roll into next week with a lot of momentum from these 2 top 3 finishes. From all of us at LSRTV, you can keep up with everything with us at livesimracing.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at LSRTV. Got a lot of racing coming up this week. Possibly tomorrow, we may have tomorrow's race canceled because of the snowstorms that are happening in the east, so we'll keep everyone up to date on what is going on with that. But from all of us here in the booth, I'm Austin Coop, he's Michael Guerrilla, and Corey Silva in the booth. We say thank you for joining us here tonight, and we'll see you at the next track.